Howdy, folks. Before we get started today, I wanted to apologize for the unexpected break that I had to take from recording. I started a new job a few weeks ago, and I haven't been home with my recording rig. But I'm back now and ready to get some new content out, though it will be at a slower pace than before, given the new demands on my time. I want to really emphasize that I do sincerely appreciate your patience and time that you spend watching my content, and I really am grateful for the growth of the channel so far. But let's get on to today's topic. So as you see behind me, the Drake Vulture is a ship that has a lot of positive things going for it. It's got unmistakable Drake aesthetics, which is great for some, not so much for others, though I personally don't mind it at all. Functional design choices that make the ship rather intuitive to players with a bit of experience with industrial ship gameplay. Personally, I think the ship is shaped kind of like a dung beetle, and the little antenna that's on top, you can't see it because I'm at a slight incline here, but the antenna on top really reinforces that for me. But let's take a bit closer look. All right, so the ship has two entry points. There's the rear ramp and a door that accesses the cockpit area, which is kind of neat because when you're completely stuffed in the cargo area, you can still exit the ship. You don't have to try to force boxes out, which I'm going to tell you right now is a terrible idea. But anyways, let's go look at the back here. So in the cargo area, this is where the magic happens for this ship. It has a 12 SCU cargo grid, and it has the volume to hold up to 25, maybe 26 if you're comfortable with loose crates. You can shove even more in here. There are ways to shove it through the cockpit door and into the habitation area. I wouldn't recommend it because if you make a mistake, all of your work that you've done is going to be gone. But like I said, I mean, I've heard people say they push up to 31, 32 crates. You do you, boo. That's all I can say. The reason that it's great, though, that you can put that much in here is that this ship really pays for itself in game. Speaking of paying for it, as of 3.19.1, this ship is not available to purchase in game. However, to pledge this ship on RSI will run you $155 US as of early July 2023. All right, so over here we have the salvage processor and its little conveyor. An often under-mentioned but really awesome thing about the salvage processor is that you can use it to make multi-tools and multi-tool attachments, limited multi-tool attachments from RMC that you have already gathered and salvaged. The only complaint I have about the cargo area would be the door to the ladder here. It has a habit of just closing in your face when you're moving crates around. And like all Drake bulkhead doors, sometimes it takes a second too long to register you're there. It's like, imagine you're walking into like a big box store, a Walmart or a Target or I think it's Tesco in the UK. And the automatic door counts to 3 before it lets you enter it. It just gets old quick when you're having to run up and down the ladder, moving crates in the hold. And it wastes time, and with industrial ships, time is everything. All right, so up the ladder here, we get to the habitation area. It is rather sparse, but does contain the essentials for a working ship. We've got a bed, a bathroom, restroom, and a kitchenette. Ironically, for whatever reason, I have 2 vultures in my hangar right now, and the other one has like a plate of food that I don't know where it came from, and it's stuck in the floor. Just a weird thing. Last room here is the cockpit area. Now we're going to sit in the seat and we're going to go over some of the finer points of this particular ship. Okay, so the standard mining heads that come attached are the cinch and the abrade, and we extend those using the M as in Mike key. The cinch is the fine point salvage head Think of it like a mechanical pencil. It is good for delicate pinpoint salvaging. It is very efficient. It's got a high speed, but I wouldn't really trust that because what it's saying is the diameter that it's hitting, it will process that quickly, but it's the smallest diameter by far. We click right click and it'll switch to our other salvage module, which is the abrade. Now the abrade is more like a Sharpie. It paints in broader strokes and it has, in my opinion, the best balance of stats. There is a third option that you can buy called the trawler. You can purchase that at refinery stations or most of your industrial places where you would buy industrial things. Now, the trawler is like painting with a 12 gauge buckshot. It paints a big area and it will scrape over really quickly, but it is not efficient at all. I personally recommend the abrade for most situations. It's fast enough and it doesn't leave much meat on the bone after a thorough pass, meaning you get more salvage from the same area than the trawler and a bit less than the cinch, but it's going to cover that area much faster than the cinch because of its significantly larger diameter. And when you're just starting out and you're paying 10% of your starting total Alpha UEC for a good salvage contract, getting the most RMC out of each contract is really important. So let's talk stats and then we'll go over some impressions and opinions. So the hull HP checks in at 8,000 HP. The shields are 3,000 HP. It has a DPS of 378, an SCM speed of 165 meters per second, and a maximum speed of 1,114 meters per second. The agility rates are 30 degrees per second for pitch, 30 degrees per second for yaw, and 100 degrees per second for roll, which honestly isn't that terrible for an industrial ship. It is not a quick ship, meaning the acceleration is not impressive, though I don't find it as unwieldy to fly as a prospector. There are no missiles on this ship, but the armament isn't as awful as you'd think. Yes, it only has 2 size 1 Bulldog laser repeaters, and that's not going to scare anyone. But there are 54 rounds and a full mag for each of them, meaning you can sustain fire on a target while backing yourself out of a fight. As far as components go, they are all grade C industrial. The only one worth really changing is the quantum drive, in my opinion, and I'd of course recommend the Atlas drive, which you can find at her L5 for about 20,000 credits. If you find yourself fighting in this often, which I don't know why you would, but people do crazy things, and it's your ship, you do with it what you want. You can look at changing the shields over to FR66s to get an extra 450 shield HP, but it's not really necessary. I mean, the ship has decent enough shielding and hull HP and is, I'm using the word almost ironically, it is maneuverable enough to get out of most situations unless you're, entangled with a quantum disrupting ship. The ship has a good size quantum fuel tank for what it is. It's 583 liters, which means that even with the stock drive, you can fly across the system and almost all the way back. And that's kind of important when you're picking up salvage contracts and you might not be paying attention to where they're at. If you're at Arc Core and you pick up one at Mike L1, that's going to be a long flight, but it's going to make it. You're not going to have to do the dog leg, stop here, stop there, refill your tanks like you do in some of the other smaller ships. Some of my impressions of this ship. So at first, I can't lie, it is an ugly ship, but it's cute ugly. It's like a Volkswagen or a Dachshund. I melted my tourist to pledge this ship, and while I absolutely loved my tourist, trade has been all but completely borked for the last 2 patch cycles, meaning the primary use of that ship wasn't functional. I don't regret my decision because a good hour or so in the Vulture will net me approximately 140,000 Alpha UEC after contract costs. So it really does make sense as a pledge ship in a way that the Prospector doesn't. Yes, the Prospector has a higher prospective yield. However, the reliable income from the Vulture means that I don't have to commit the time that I did finding good rocks for mining. And I can't tell you that's a big deal. Some of the uses for this ship that I don't think a lot of people have really thought or talked about is, you can use this to run bunkers. You can fit ground vehicles in the back. If you're careful, you can fit a Cyclone in the rear, making it a pretty reasonable bunker ship. Honestly, for a while after I first pledged it, I was flying with a PTV to do bunkers, and inevitably I'd come to a bunker sooner or later with a crashed ship out front, meaning before I cleared the bunker, I'd go ahead and salvage the ship that was sitting outside. Now this ship, once again, it's not really a combat vessel, but if you really wanted to, you could run VLRT and LRT bounties with it. My org mates and I like to run combined ops where I'm in either my Vulture here or a Reclaimer, and they take on HRT and up bounties and their fighters, and as they kill them, I scrap them. Everyone contributes, everyone has fun, and everyone gets paid. So in closing, if you're trying to find one ship to have for post-wipe money making, this is the most economical one in my opinion. The Reclaimer would obviously be the better choice, but that's $400 US. The Prospector costs a bit more than the Vulture and requires some in-game component investment to be more profitable than the Vulture, and still has RNG working for/against it when you compare to the reliable stream of credits that you get with the Vulture. I hope this video was helpful, and I wanted to thank you all again for the support that I've received on this channel. I sincerely appreciate the comments, the likes, and most importantly, the time you all take to watch my videos. Just a heads up, I'm inching ever closer to the point of monetization for my channel. The first stage of that will be channel memberships. If anyone has any ideas about what they would like to see in a Heimdall membership, let me know. The only caveat being, until I'm actually bringing in more than I'm spending on the channel as it is, I can't do ship giveaways or things like that, even though I can't wait to get to that point. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Get out there and conquer the stars, and I can't wait to see you all out there in the verse.